20s.
The seatbelt's just tightened upon me. All right, so I'm here with Paul. Paul is driving a BMW i4. Is that correct? Have I got that right?
That's correct. i4 eDrive 40.
Okay, he knows the actual information about this car. Paul, how long have you owned this car?
I have had this car for just on 1 week.
It
has less than 50 Ks on the clock. And there's a bit of history of that because I actually ordered it 2 years ago and it took that long for the dealer to come.
2 years. I have to say, it's a very nice looking car.
It's it's a bit of a present for myself. Someone might say a midlife crisis, but I certainly wouldn't.
I started an Instagram instead.
Oh, well, there you go. So in the process of waiting for this car, and when the 6 months came up, and I said, "Oh, Merry Christmas! Thanks for telling me I'll be another year."
Yeah.
I said, "So what else have you got?" I had a 7-year-old ICE that I was looking to trade in, and they said, "Well, we've got these iX3s in the showroom. You could go away with one of these." So I ended up doing that as an interim, and they promised to buy it back when the i4 finally came in.
Message for you, sir.
There's the Android integration and Android CarPlay, and the dealer said, "Well, you can take this iX3 away." So I was actually been driving around a BMW iX3 fully electric for the last year and a half.
And what do you think of that?
Look, it was brilliant. It's a big SUV, nice load in the back, very comfortable car to drive. But I was never really looking for an SUV style thing. So
You would be one of the very few people that say that.
quite probably, there's a lot on the roads. But I'm happy with the sedan, and maybe if I give me another 15 years when I can no longer get down into a sedan, and I'm looking for an SUV for the high drive height and make it easier to get into, then maybe I'll swap back.
In terms of, has your driving changed at all? In terms of driving an EV versus an ICE?
Oh, look, I think we certainly take out the EV a lot more often than we take my wife's ICE car out.
Really?
These days. Absolutely, yeah.
Why is that?
Because it's just nicer to drive and it's cheaper to run. It's ultimately, when the fuel is essentially free and the maintenance is essentially free, there's very little maintenance on an electric car. It ends up just being the preferred drive.
So how do you refuel this car and what does it cost you?
I plug it in at home. I put in a home charger, and it runs off the solar system. So that charger was about $2,500 to put in. So most of the time it's either free or running off the whatever the price of grid power was. Most of the time it's free because I try and charge during the day. But the BMWs also come with free ChargeFox. So this one came with 5 years of free ChargeFox.
5 years?
5 years of free ChargeFox. If I'm out on the road, then I'll plug into a ChargeFox and.
Hang on. So you basically, at
Free.
least for the next 5 years, you will never ever be paying anything.
Very rarely will I be paying anything.
Wow.
Or I'll be paying 15 cents or 20 cents a kilowatt hour if I'm charging at home.
Do you think? I mean, I know there's a lot of disinformation and misinformation on the internet, but I do seem to be seeing a lot more electric cars on the road.
There are a lot more electric cars on the road, and a lot of them are Teslas. A lot of them are white Teslas.
Don't they only come in one colour?
I've heard people refer to Teslas as e-Camrys, but that would be very unfair. But I think it's great. I think the more electric cars that people see on the roads, the more likely they are to consider them for their next drive, even if they're not really part of, not really following the movement, if you like, what used to be a movement.
I feel like they are becoming more normalised.
I think they are, and as people ride in them and see YouTube videos on them or what have you, and as friends get them and other people sit in them and decide, hey, this actually isn't too bad. And you can't go past a maintenance regime that says after the first 12 months it's a visual look around and it's free, and the next major service is 2 years after you bought it, and that's to change the brake fluid.
This car, are you so far? Are you very happy with it?
Oh, look, very very happy with it. It's got all the tech, it's got all the bells and whistles, and and I like that. It drives really smoothly, and it's obviously really
It does.
quiet, like all EVs. It has the radar terrain following cruise control, and driver assist sort of lane keeping. So you're not calling it full self-driving, or you can't take your hand off the steering wheel. You've got to keep it on there. But it basically on the long distance highway drives, it's just so easy to drive because it just creeps up and then follows the car in front, adjusts its speed for the traffic in front, and then steers itself around the corners. So on a drive to Canberra or to Newcastle or wherever, it's a pretty effortless drive, as the car pretty much does its own thing.
That sounds very stress-free.
It is very stress-free and allows you to have a good conversation, and it does make it a more restful long distance drive for sure.
Do you... acceleration, I tell you. Okay, so let's say that someone was on the fence. They had the money. They're like, okay, I'm going to go and buy a car, and they were toying with the idea of an ICE car, maybe a hybrid. What would you say to them, in terms of should they go electric? What would be your kind of pitch to them?
Look, absolutely have a drive. Talk to a friend. If you're not sure about the EV, talk to a friend who has one. But also, if you're unless you are really, if you're towing a 3-ton caravan and you're doing a lot of trips through the outback and you're planning on going through the Simpson Desert, maybe an EV still isn't for you. But if what you're doing is a regular commuter family car, the Christmas long distance trip to see the rallies in Queensland, or if you're in Queensland, in New South Wales, wherever, then the highways have plenty of charging stations. It's just not a problem unless you're in that smaller and smaller segment of the driving population who really need a 4x4, really need huge towing capacity, or really think you're going to be doing 1,400 kilometres without seeing a petrol station, so you need to carry the jerry tanks on the side of the car. That sort of off-road four-wheel driving. Last time I needed a four-wheel drive to go on a holiday and tow a caravan, I rented it. And you can rent a four-wheel drive for 2 or 3 weeks for a hell of a lot less than it costs you to buy it, service it, keep it insured, and to put tyres on the thing.
You are paying a premium to buy a car that is reducing pollution. No one ever talks about the billions and billions of dollars in government savings in health benefits from people not having heart attacks and strokes and lung cancer,
asthma.
Yeah, asthma.
Yeah, that sort of thing. No, nobody really talks about those things, but they should be factored into the equation. Everybody really, if they're buying it on environmental grounds, it's less CO2 in the atmosphere. That's a big thing for the kids and the grandkids to look after future generations. But I think it's actually enough if people buy an EV because they're bloody fun to drive.
They are so fun to drive.
And you can listen to music, and
you can hear yourself think.
and you can take off from the lights like a scolded cat, but within the law limit.
Within the speed limit.
Absolutely.
So, Paul, I've been meaning to ask an EV owner this question. How does it feel to drive past a petrol station these days?
Oh, look, it's actually quite funny to not so much to drive past an empty one, but seeing one where there's a queue of cars parked up, with everyone that talks about people having to queue for an EV charger and things like that. Driving past a liquid fuel station with cars that are queued up waiting to get in because they're 5 cents cheaper than the one up the road, and that sort of thing always gives me a giggle these days. Yeah. And so, well, yeah, you have fun in your 15 minutes waiting in the driveway to do that. I'll just keep going merrily by.
Yeah.
You see a lot of people driving on the freeway up to, say, Newcastle, down to Wollongong or to Canberra, and they have those big roadside road stops and things, and endless streams of people pulling in. Just being able to sail past every day is it's just kind of nice.
Nice. Well, Paul, thank you so much for letting me go for a ride in your really amazing car.
Oh, my pleasure, Sarah.
This has been just... I've been trying to concentrate because I've just kind of want to be sit here and go, I kind of just want to look at your car. So it's been a great pleasure. Thank you so much.
Oh, very good. Thank you, Sarah.
has this in his car, which of course I've discovered and just pulled out and gone, what's this? What's this?
So I ended up printing out some things on a piece of paper to put on the dashboard. So checked in on PlugShare so that if people need the charger and they want to send me a message, they can either jump on PlugShare. It's also a bit of an education for people that don't know what PlugShare is. If they see that, maybe they'll have a look for the app. But there's also a great service called Need to Charge.
Chewed by the dog.
Chewed by the dog, where you register your number plate on Need to Charge, and if someone needs the charger, they can jump on the app and effectively send a message. They don't need to know your mobile phone number or your details. It keeps your privacy because they type in the registration number of your car, and the service then sends you the message. And then if you're having coffee nearby, you can run back and say, yes, thanks, your needs more greater than mine, I'll get out of the way.
We
You can
have
jump
that
in and chat.
as a standard, industry standard.
Well, it's around and they're global, but very few people know about them. And there's a lot of people who feel that EVs, if they're going to become mainstream, people shouldn't need to worry about it. And which is fine. If people don't want to worry about it, people don't need to, but I just think of it as being polite.
Polite. How about that?